Hello everyone, welcome to today's Vision 6 Power Session. Delve into contact behaviour with unsubscribe feedback. My name's Andy, the product trainer here at Vision 6 in Brisbane, and I'll be taking you through today's session. Now, when it comes to unsubscribing from lists, sometimes some people think that this is a bad thing, but essentially if you look at it from a quality point of view rather than quantity in terms of the members on your list, then maybe it's not such a bad thing. If you've got a big list in the system with 100,000 contacts and only 10 of those people buy something from you, is that necessarily better than if you only have 100 people in your list? They're all engaged and active, and half of them buy something from you. So I guess at the end of the day, sometimes it's always a good idea to focus on the quality of your list and not the quantity in terms of the number of contacts. So there are some positives, I guess, to an unsubscribe, and let's run through a couple of those. So when someone unsubscribes from your list, it means they're no longer interested in the content that you're sending them, or perhaps you're sending them content too frequently, or maybe they've chosen another product or something like that, if that's what the list and the emails were about in terms of lead nurture and that type of thing. So an unsubscribe can help you maintain a clean list of just active contacts and subscribers who actually want to receive your content. It also means that your sender reputation remains undamaged. Because if you've got people that don't really want the types of emails that you're sending, or maybe they're not interested in your services or products, it's better that they unsubscribe from your list than press that button in Gmail and Outlook Online, which says mark as spam. And that will affect your sender reputation when they do that, and can get your emails blocked, even into the inboxes of those who want to receive your emails. So it's always a good idea to just always allow those people who don't want your content to easily unsubscribe from it. And then your sender reputation won't get damaged as a result of their actions. Also, another thing which you can do is at the point of unsubscribe, and this is the point of, or the topic of today's session, is it allows you to give that contact a chance to provide some feedback as to why they're unsubscribing. And you can then obviously collect that and review the feedback that they're providing. And then that gives you some great actionable insights that you can use to improve your content and comms for everyone on your list. So why is it a good idea to have unsubscribe feedback and request that? Well, as mentioned, it's a great way to work out whether or not your content is useful and relevant to the audience. And you can also get some feedback from that on the frequency of your emails. So one of the things that the person might write is that, you email me too often, or something like that. So it's one of those things that can be a little bit hard to judge initially, but if you've got the option to allow your unsubscribers to leave feedback, then that's a great way to get that information and act upon that. And of course, it's optional as well. The user doesn't have to leave the feedback if they don't want to. So another good little option there is that you're not forcing them to do it, and you're not making the unsubscribe process any harder. So how do we set this up in Vision 6? How do we enable unsubscribed feedback and get that little form in there? And how does it look? And what does it look like and how does it work? So with step one, we're going to look at our existing unsubscribe form and add some little changes into it. So I've just in Vision 6 here, I come across to lists and forms on the left-hand side, and I've got a couple of different lists here, as you can see, but I'm going to do this on our customers list. So if you have 3 lists and you want the unsubscribed feedback to be on all of them, you just need to go and apply this little step here that I'm going to do to all of them. So this is done on a list-by-list basis. So I'm just going to double-click on my customers list now to go into the forms view. Now, this is where all of your forms sit. So if you've got a subscribe form, which you can embed on your website, this is where you'll find it in the editor here. You may also have surveys and polls set up, all that kind of thing. But the one we want to look at today is the unsubscribe form. So I'm just going to click through onto that one. And this is the form that your contacts will actually see if and when they click that unsubscribe link in the bottom of your email. So come in here at any time and you can actually customize the way it looks, as you can see. So I've changed the colors to match our branding. You can come in here and adjust all the colors and things. You can add an image, as I've done there. You can add in some text and center it and change the font and heading. All those different options are available here when you're in the editor, and that's how you insert your logo there. We've got the little image button at the end of the toolbar. All pretty standard stuff. I'm not going to go into too much detail in this session. But the key thing to do here, if you want to enable unsubscribe feedback, is by clicking on the submit button, you can change where it goes. So in a default setup, it will go to a thank you page, which is this one here. So when the person fills in this form, presses submit, or if you've got one-click unsubscribe turned on, it will take them to here. It just sort of basically says, thanks for unsubscribing. If you change your mind, you can always join again via our website. And again, you can customize the thank you page too. But what we want to do, instead of making that go to a thank you page, is we want to make that go to a feedback form. And you'll see when I do that, it adds another sub-tab here that wasn't there before. So I'm just going to save this now. And now that that's saved, we can go to our feedback form. And you'll see the system has automatically made some new fields for us. And they actually appear right here at the bottom. So this is a list of all the different fields I have on my list. And at the bottom, we've got two new ones, unsubscribe reason and unsubscribe feedback, which is the box where they can type in other comments. And here we go. We can now go and customize this as well. So I could go in through the middle and come in here and center that. I could rearrange these fields, all sorts of different things I can do here, just as per normal with the actual form itself. So in doing this, it actually automatically creates those two fields for you and adds them to this new form here called feedback form. So the process now is that if someone clicks unsubscribe in the bottom of your email, they put in their email address here, and some generally it's sort of pre-filled as well. They press submit. It then unsubscribes them and takes them to here. So this is optional. They can then fill in this if they want to with the reason why they're unsubscribing. They can put in any extra information here, and if they want to under the other field, press submit, then it goes to the thank you page. So it still follows this process. It's just got that one optional step in between. But as I said, this is optional. It does unsubscribe them as soon as they press submit here. And then if they want to, they can leave extra feedback here on this screen. So we've now done the customization. And if you want to, you can test and check, but it should work. We've definitely tested it many times here. And many of our customers are using this as well. If you wanted to actually test it for yourself, you can come into the contacts area here and actually add yourself as a contact. So you can press new contact, add yourself in. All you really need is an email address at the bare minimum. And then to test it, you come into your unsubscribe form, you press view form, put in the email address that you just subscribed or added, press submit, and you will then go through that exact same process. Or you could actually add yourself to a list, send yourself a test email, and press unsubscribe in the footer of that test email. And then again, you'll come to this form as well, so you can test it all and see how it looks, adjust things if need be, move them around, and so on and so forth. So pretty easy to do. The key thing there is to go to your unsubscribe form, highlight the submit button, and change it from just going straight to the thank you page to going to a feedback form. And that adds this new step in the middle, which is here, and then the person can optionally fill that out. A couple of frequently asked questions that probably have popped up right now in that you've seen that. Firstly, can the reasons for unsubscribing be adjusted, added to, or changed? Yes, absolutely. When you're here in this form, just like always in Vision 6, if you wanted to edit a field, you can double click on it, or over on the right here, you can find the field there and press the pencil icon. It does the same thing as double clicking. And here you can remove the reason by pressing the minus button, or add a new reason to the list and press the add button there as well. So you've got different options here. You can also rearrange the order in which they appear by moving them up or down. So yeah, completely customizable. You can add your own, you can delete some, you can edit them, and so on. What happens if you have one-click unsubscribe enabled? So that's another question that comes up quite often. One-click unsubscribe is something that you can set here when you're in the unsubscribe form under advanced settings. You can switch this on. What happens is if someone unsubscribes, it generally takes them straight to the thank you page to say, hey, you've been unsubscribed. So in this instance, this still does work with one-click unsubscribe. If you have that turned on, it will skip this first form and go straight to the feedback form to say, you've been unsubscribed, but if you have a moment, tell us why. So that actually still does work with one-click unsubscribe if you've got that turned on. One thing to be aware of though, we tend, from my point of view from training and that type of thing, we tend not to recommend switching on one-click unsubscribe, particularly if you send emails to a lot of government entities and larger companies. The reason being is that a lot of larger companies and that type of thing, they use mail servers which scan emails. So they'll actually go through and scan every single link in the email to make sure it's not a phishing link or a spam link or something like that. And sometimes those servers can also go through, they don't realize that an unsubscribe link is an unsubscribe link, and they will test that link. And in doing so, they will unsubscribe that contact. So that's why we don't recommend using one-click unsubscribe these days because of that reason there. So you can just check that there on the right-hand side. You can switch it on or off. How do you report on the data? So if someone does fill in this form and you get the reason why they're unsubscribing, how do you find it and where do you find it? So back here on your contacts list, this is where all of your, the people on your list are stored. You'll notice now that there are two new fields that Vision 6 made for you automatically. And again, they were unsubscribe reason and unsubscribe feedback. These are the two new fields we make automatically for you when you switch this unsubscribe feedback system on. And they've just appeared here at the end of my list. So at any time, if I'm not seeing them here at the end of my long list of contacts, you can always come into the little cog icon here and switch the fields on if you're not seeing them. But basically then at the end of the list, you'll see the reason and the feedback, and this will be filled in for any contacts that have filled it in. So at any time you can come in here and see that. You can also do a search as well to find contacts that do have something in here. So you can have a look at any time what people have been writing in there. Are there unsubscribe notifications? Yes, you can turn this on. This is just a general setting. It's regardless of whether or not you use the feedback. You can always turn on unsubscribe notifications. And that's done here back on the forms view. You can be on any of the different forms, different tabs here. You just need to press details, and under notifications in the middle, you can pop your email address in here, and Vision 6 will send you an email whenever someone unsubscribes. So that's just a general setting that's always been there. It's not tied to having feedback. So that's something you might like to turn on. And then what you could do is, once they've done that, once they've unsubscribed, you might say, oh, let's go and have a look and see if they wrote anything. And you can come in here, again, your contacts view, and check for the unsubscribe reason and any feedback they left. So it's always a good idea to check that now and then, or even just do a search and find that information. But since we've got a little bit of extra spare time in the session today, these sessions, by the way, are normally around 20 minutes or so. So we've got some other ways to have a look at how you can actually reduce unsubscribers. So if you're finding that you do have a lot of people unsubscribing, then there are some ways you can look at reducing that. A couple of different things we'll go through here. So one such way is if you do have access to our advanced automations, is you can actually start to tag your contacts based on what they're doing in an email. So what types of emails are they opening from you? What types of links are they clicking on? And the good thing about this is this starts to build up a profile of your contacts and what sort of things they like, particularly if you send fairly generic style e-news emails where you don't have a common theme as such. By tagging your contacts based on what they're clicking on in an email, what links they're visiting, and which ones they're opening and not opening, then you can also get a bit of a better understanding and build a bit of a profile on your contacts based on that. And you can then use that to tailor future emails. So they're very personalized and targeted to what that contact likes. A good example there is, and we'll show you in a few moments as well, is that if through the tagging and that kind of thing, you know that the contact likes donuts, then future emails you send to them, you can change the header graphic to feature donuts as opposed to cakes, muffins, or pretzels as per the different options we've got here. So you can really tailor the communications you send to them, not only based on the content, but the pictures in the email you can change as well dynamically based on what you know about someone. Again, it's all about creating very personalized experiences. If the email is very relevant and personalized to the recipient, they're more likely to engage with it, click on it, buy something from you, etc., as opposed to unsubscribing. You can segment your list as well. And again, this can be done through that tagging and that type of thing that I mentioned here. But if you know a bit more about your contacts, such as the state they're in, maybe their dietary preference, and this could be something you collect at the time of subscription as well on the form, what things they're interested in, that's done through the tagging, etc. You can use that to, again, segment your list. You can also personalize the email as well. So you'll see here in the header, we have the person's first name. So welcome to our latest e-news, Andy. For example, is a personalization there. Again, here in the first line, dear Andy, and we've got a fallback in there as well. So if the person didn't put in their first name on our subscription form, instead of it just saying dear comma, you'd be surprised how many times I get emails that say dear comma because I don't put my first name in, and people don't use fallbacks. But we've got one here that says if there is no first name, it will fall back to say baked goods enthusiast. So that's one of the fallbacks we've got there. As you can see, you can also put wildcards on buttons. So here, this button is a high impact button because it's nice and clear, it stands out, uses our branding. And of course, the first name will be implanted or put onto that button there when the user gets this email, deals for Andy or exclusive deals for Andy. So you could really make that a nice high-performing call to action there by personalizing that with the wildcard as well. Now, speaking of segmenting your contacts and personalizing, this is another thing you can do in Vision 6. So again, if you know that your contacts are gluten-free or vegetarian, something like that, if you've got that extra data, doesn't have to be the dietary, it could be what state they're in. So here's an example where we've got a generic email newsletter going out to our contacts, but we're serving up a different graphic, text, and a different button if the contact's gluten-free. If not, they'll get this version of the article instead. And that's all this type of stuff you can do with conditional content in the system as well. If you're sending a sort of more of those slightly more generic emails that aren't sort of about a particular topic, maybe you've got sort of a large user base, or perhaps your company creates all kinds of machinery equipment for different industries, and you're sending out emails about bulldozers to someone who might be interested in landscaping, where they don't perhaps need a bulldozer. They might need something a lot smaller just to dig trenches or something like that. So by looking at the click map report, you can use that to gauge what types of things your contacts are interested in. And if no one's clicking on the article about gardening, then maybe you tailor your communication in future to fitness or something like that. Again, it all depends on what where your readers are coming from, what they're interested in, where you collected, where they subscribed from, and again, tailoring that content to suit their needs. So the click map report is a great way to see what people are clicking on, and the little spots here, as you can see, will get bigger depending on the more people that clicked on that as well. So some good insights. Another great way to reduce unsubscribes is to match the content you're sending to the customer journey or the buyer's journey. If in your case, you're sending your emails out to prospects initially. This is just a sort of an image here, or a little chart that I created in previous life, which had to do with self-storage facilities. So as you can see here, someone's doing research. They get the idea that they run out of space, they need storage. They've then chosen a particular company to store with. They then reserve a storage unit, move in, you sell them some stuff. Then they move out once they finish their house renovations or they've got more space. And then you can remarket to them as an advocate in the future. So it's all about mapping out your journey of your customers. What are they doing? Are they buying something from you? Are they getting a service from you? And then sort of mapping the content that you send out to them, dependent on what they're doing and what they're interested in at that point in time in the journey. And again, you can do this all through tagging in Vision 6 and automations. You can say that the person has not purchased from us yet, so we're going to send them some different content. Then when they do purchase from you, you can change the type of content they receive. And then once they've finished, or they no longer need that service, you can then again market to them and try and get them to refer friends or leave a review, that kind of thing. So they become an advocate from you. So some good little things there. It's all about matching the content to what the person is doing in their buyer journey. But another thing you can do is allow contacts to take a break. And with all these sort of little things and little tips and tricks that I'm going through here, with many of them, we actually have help articles already in our knowledge base as to how to set this up. So if this is of interest, jump into our support page or ask our support team, and we can give you a hand on how to set any of these up. And we will have future power sessions on some of these, and have already done some in the past as well. So with this one, you can allow your contacts to take a break. So on the unsubscribe form, you can have a little, on the update profile form there, you can have an option where they can say, don't send me emails for 60 days or 90 days or 30 days. And then it automatically puts them back in again once that timer has passed. So good little tips there as well. And you can also allow the contact to update their preferences at any time. So you might have the preferences function enabled in Vision 6, and they can tick on and off the types of emails they want to receive from you. My name's Andy. Thanks very much for joining today's session. Hope you have a great day. Thanks again.